Good morning, and thank you everyone for attending. This is our overview of reporting focused on an OASIS. This training is offered by the Office of Personnel Professional Services and Human Capital categories, which is within the GSA Federal Acquisition Service. My name is Serena Ritchie. I'm a MAC financial analyst under the Business Operations umbrella. I'm also a member of the CPRM support team. I'm joined here by Bart Dressler, a MAC financial analyst, and Kim Schumacher, one of our senior MAC financial analysts, who will be monitoring our Q&A chat. You can reach me and the rest of our team via the OASIS CPRM at gsa.gov email, which is located on the left-hand side, upper left-hand corner of this slide. We will be recording this presentation. Please feel free to step away from the meeting at this time. These training slides, as well as our OASIS reporting manual and the Q&A from today's training session, will be sent to all participants who signed up for this training within the next few days. Today's training is intended for those who will be using CPRM regularly to report all task orders, and these are the ones we call administrative users. If that isn't you, or you haven't yet identified the main CPRM user, please be sure to share these slides and resources with the individual who will be responsible for reporting on your OASIS contracts. We do offer this specific training every quarter, and we also offer specific topic sessions occasionally as well. So be sure to check the GSA events calendar. Before we get started, I want to mention that you can submit questions during this presentation using the Q&A pod. Some questions will be answered throughout the presentation, and any follow-up questions will be answered at the end of this presentation. I want to remind everyone that there is not a reporting requirement in CPRM until you have been awarded a task order. However, within the first 30 days of the award of a contract, you are still required to report the contract in Assist. And again, we will be emailing these slides out to all participants on today's call. These slides will be available in the industry section of the OASIS website. The OASIS website is linked on this slide in the lower left-hand corner. With that said, look, I will navigate over to the industry page right now. It's a great resource for you, and I'm going to mention it several times throughout this presentation. Go to gsa.gov and go down to Buy Through Us. And then Purchasing Programs. And then OASIS and OASIS Small Business. You can see on the left-hand side is the buyer's guidance. And here you will find Symphony Procurement Suite, as well as a list of memorandums of understanding for OASIS. Moving on, we have the Industry Guidance and Resources page. On this page, you will find the contract reporting. The CPRM module is listed here, and here you will find the vendor manual, reporting manual, the overview of reporting slides, similar to what we are doing today, and the CPRM invoice upload template. I would speak for hours on the information on these pages, but we have a lot to cover today. So I'm going to be going back to here. Here is the roadmap for the topics we're going to cover today. The numbers you see on the left-hand side refer to the slide numbers for that particular topic. We will be able to use this roadmap as a table of contents for the slide deck. Our first step is understanding everything in this presentation. What is CPRM? On a higher level, CPRM, or the Contract Payment Reporting Module, was designed to standardize all data inputs related to the OASIS contract vehicle. Even though each contract is a little bit different, we need the data inputs to look the same so that we and our customer stakeholders can get the big picture on OASIS. Think of it as comparing apples to oranges. What that means to you, our industry partners, is that CPRM helps to streamline the reporting process, reduce data calls and other task order activity, reporting, and most importantly, it helps you calculate and pay your CAF to GSA while having the ability to track that payment status. It is important to note that CPRM supports multiple contract vehicles. Not all functionality, instructions, or tips embedded in the module will apply directly to an OASIS contract. Please refer to your OASIS contract for specific reporting and CAF requirements. In addition to today's training, there are several resources of training on the use of CPRM. First, there's the training modules available right on the home page of CPRM. These are produced by the development team that supports CPRM. For our new users on the call today, I highly recommend utilizing these as you learn the reporting process. These go into great detail and are a valuable resource. Since these are generalized for all users of CPRM, as there are multiple contract vehicles that use CPRM to report and pay CAF, they are very detailed on navigating the technical elements of the interface and where to click, etc. The next place you can navigate to is the industry guidance page on the OASIS homepage, which I just showed you. I suggest bookmarking that page because it has a wealth of information that you will use throughout your OASIS journey. Finally, you can reach out to the OASIS CPRM inbox. This inbox is monitored daily by our analysts, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have on reporting your specific award. You can send us an email and we will help troubleshoot that way, or schedule a call and a teleconference with you and your team to go over CPRM reporting, CAF, and your specific awards, etc., in a more visual way. In addition to training, here are resources for support while using CPRM. For general technical support, such as user account registration, password recovery, etc., you can see more of what they handle over in the box on the right. You'll reach out to the Assist Help Desk. Their phone numbers and email addresses are listed here. As a best practice, you should always use your contract number in corresponding with them. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, for your questions related to reporting your OASIS contracts, you'll want to reach out to our team at oasiscprm@gsa.gov. Moving along to how to access CPRM. CPRM is located within the Assist portal. There is a link to the Assist portal on this slide. To self-register for an account, select Registration, then Registered Contractor. Then select RBA CPRM. You can see that this role is what this role is approved to do in the box on the right. You may already have an Assist user account if you manage contracts under another vehicle. You can add CPRM access by editing your account profile and requesting the additional access. Your company POC must approve the new role. We do recommend assigning a primary and a backup to have CPRM access. Depending on the size of your organization, of your company, the main CPRM user may be different from your contract manager or the program manager. That's perfectly all right. Just be sure that it is possible for us to get in touch, and I'll go over the contact form next. GSA utilizes the industry partner contacts section CPRM in several ways. You will receive technical notifications from the Assist CPRM system, as well as validation notifications for expired task orders. GSA will reach out to these contacts about data they see reported in CPRM. And finally, any questions or notifications regarding CAF payments will be sent to these contacts. We request you maintain this list to include the individuals who are responsible for reporting in CPRM, such as an administrative user, your program manager, and your contact manager. Additionally, we recommend using a group mailbox so that we can keep in touch even when staffing changes occur. To add a contact, you will access the form by selecting the CPRM Communications dropdown and then search CPRM Industry Partner Contacts and then click the Add button. You would then add the contact's name. Select the corresponding contract number this person is a contact for. Select the contact person's role. Enter the contact person's phone number and email address. Remember, we strongly recommend also using group email addresses to help alleviate having to update your POC too often. And then click the Submit button to save the information. Once you have the POC information in CPRM, you can edit the information by clicking on the person's name on the left-hand side of the Search Industry Partners contact screen. CPRM should be an accurate representation of task order activity, OASIS G.3.2. This means all data reported in CPRM should match exactly to your contract and the invoices you send to your customer. You must report all new task orders within 30 days of the award, OASIS G.3.2.1. You should choose how you will be reporting invoices in CPRM, either by the date you invoice your customer, known as the invoice date, or by the date you receive full payment from your customer, known as the paid date. You will then report the same way for the life of the task order, OASIS G.3.2.3. It is important to note here that all the CAF you report in your invoices, including during a quarter, should also be remitted to GSA. If you are reporting by invoice date, you may be remitting funds to GSA that you are expecting your customer to pay, but have not yet received. If you are reporting by paid date, you will only be reporting invoices that are fully paid by your customer, which may result in reporting gaps. Should these gaps be over the course of the entire quarter, a $0 invoice will need to be reported instead to stay in compliance with the quarterly reporting requirement. Every calendar quarter, you are required to report invoices on all your active task orders, OASIS G.3.2.3. If no invoices are generated to your customer, if reporting by invoice date, or no payment was received from your customer if reporting by paid date, Then report a $0 invoice, and it will satisfy the reporting requirement. I will cover how to report invoices in a later slide. Specific CAF requirements. CAF should be included on every invoice and on its own CLIN, OASIS G.3.1. This means the entire invoice is subject to CAF, which includes line items such as travel, ODCs, materials, award fees, etc. The contract should include CAF at the proper CAF rate. The standard rate is 0.75%. There are agencies that have MOU agreements with OASIS, which authorize a reduction to the CAF rate. These MOU agreements can be found on the OASIS website where I showed you earlier. CAF is a pass-through from your customer to GSA. The expectation is that the CAF you invoice to your customer should equal the estimated CAF calculated in CPRM based on your CAF rate, which should also equal the CAF you pay to GSA. You shouldn't be paying GSA any CAF funds that you have not invoiced or been paid, depending on how you report your invoices. As a reminder, every task order awarded should include a separate CAF CLIN, calculated against all other CLINs on the award. If you come across one that doesn't include a CAF CLIN or is not fully funded to include all the other CLINs, please work with your order contracting officer to have a mod executed to correct the funding. Remember that all new task orders should be reported in CPRM within 30 days of the award. The order data form functionality is customized to match the type of contract you are entering. So fields will begin to populate as you enter your data. You can access the order data form by selecting the orders drop-down and then selecting Enter New Order Package. There is a Guide Me link on the right, which is like a quick link to help documents in the training module. You will also notice tooltips will appear on the right side of the screen to help you enter the correct information in the fields. You will start by selecting your contract number in the first drop-down box. Based on your contract information, some fields will auto-generate. You will then add the initial funded award period of performance start and end dates. How to enter new task orders, part 2. Then you will begin typing the name of your OCO. This should auto-generate the OCO's information to select. However, if it does not, then enter the OCO's email address instead. You will select the receiving agency from the next drop-down. The next section is where you will attach documents to the task order to include the award, the solicitation of services document, and copies of all mods. Once all information has been entered, click the Submit button on the bottom of the screen to save your task order. Once you've created your task order, you can navigate back to it by selecting the Orders drop-down, selecting Search Orders, and then clicking on the task order number, which will now be on the left. You can edit a task order by selecting the Edit button at the very bottom of the order data screen at any time. You will need to do this periodically. For example, when you have a new mod document to attach. Please note that some fields, once entered and saved, are not editable directly, like the period of performance and the obligated dollar amounts. These fields are dependent on you reporting the associated mod in the mod section and will auto-update to match. The CAF rate is automatically assigned depending on the receiving bureau and agency. That is selected when the CAF or when the task order is created. It is important to make sure that this information is accurate as you begin to report your invoices on your task order. The calendar reporting deadlines on the upper right of this slide can be found on the OASIS contract in Section G.3.1. All active task orders have a reporting requirement every quarter. If there is a stop work order, the task order is still active and the reporting requirement still applies. We mentioned earlier that the method you use to report by either by invoice date or by paid date should be followed for the entire life of the task order. And to reiterate, we expect the CAF you report on your invoices to equal the estimated CAF that CPRM calculates based on your CAF rate, and this should also match the CAF you remit to GSA. If no invoices were generated to your customer during the quarter, if you report by invoice date, or no payment was received by your customer during the quarter, if you report by paid date, you will have to report a $0 invoice instead. If there was an intentional gap in reporting, this will satisfy the quarterly reporting requirement for your contract. A $0 invoice is entered the same way as a new invoice, only you would select the zero invoice data as shown on the right of this slide instead of the invoice data. There are two ways you can report your invoices in CPRM. The first method is by reporting invoice data line by line. This is helpful for new users to see how the invoices are compiled in CPRM as they get started with reporting. This is also a good method to use if you have very few task orders with very few line items. You can access the invoice data form in the order data screen. Scroll until you see the invoice data section on the left in red and click the Add button. On the right side of this slide is the invoice data form. You will select the invoice data option. And then you will enter the date of the invoice that you are reporting by invoice. I'm sorry, let me start that part again. And then you will enter the date of the invoice if you are reporting by invoice date, or the date you were paid if reporting by paid date in the invoice remit or paid date field. The reporting year and reporting period fields are then selected. These fields are for you to utilize to help recognize your invoices. For example, you may invoice all your labor for the December period in January. If you report by invoice date, you would have a January date on the invoice date field. If you report by paid date and the customer paid in February, you would have a February date in the invoice date field. This field you would recognize your invoicing period of December. You will see an import function on this screen, but you can disregard it. It is not used here for any OASIS task orders. Next is the comments box. This field is required if you manually override the CAF total and it no longer matches the estimated CAF calculation. Please make a note here as clear as possible as to why you're deviating from the CAF rate. You will now be entering your invoice line items in the table that is generated. The default invoice has one sales line and one CAF line, which cannot be removed. If you had to report a correction in which one of these two components wasn't billed, you would enter a $0 value in the price field. The type, price, quantity, and unit fields are dependent on your predominant contract type and should follow the prices paid data guidance, which is located on the OASIS webpage. I will also cover an overview of correctly reporting prices paid data on this training. You can add more line items by clicking on the Add Line Item button. Once finished with your invoice, click the Submit button to save the invoice. You can edit your reported invoices by clicking on the invoice number in the Order Data screen under the Invoice Data section, and then clicking the Edit button. The second method for reporting invoices in CPRM is uploading them. This is helpful if you have many task orders to report on or many line items on one invoice on a task order. I know it says multiple invoices, but you can also upload just one invoice that may have a large number of line items as well. This can save you time and frustration when you're entering multiple lines using the line-by-line method, and you have to start all over because the system timed out, which is never fun. Start by clicking on the Invoice Data drop-down and select Upload Multiple Invoice Upload Package. You will see the Invoice Data Package upload screen shown on the right side of this slide. The invoice upload template can be found on the OASIS website, where I showed you earlier, and the template does have an instructions tab to help guide you through filling in the template correctly. Once you have filled out, formatted the template, and saved it, click on the Choose File button and select your template. The file will appear as an attachment. Click the Upload button to begin uploading the invoices. A verification screen will appear to show all the invoices uploaded correctly. If the system will alert you if you have any errors that are encountered in the upload process, and will try to guide you to a fix. Once you make those corrections, you will save and choose the file again to begin the upload once again. And then when the verification does not encounter any errors, your invoices will be ready to submit. You click the Submit button, and all validated invoices, click the Submit All Validated Invoices button to save. You should always double check your file has uploaded correctly by verifying in the Order Data screen on your task force. That is really important because sometimes they don't. I also want to mention here that this method can be very tricky. Should you have any trouble getting your file to upload, we are here to help. Please send us an email to oasiscprm@gsa.gov to request assistance, and we can schedule a time to screen share and walk you through the process together. The good news is once you have a working template, you can reuse it every quarter to save time by updating the information to the current quarter's invoices. At this time, I also want to mention that the upload template feature is not working at this time. Please do not use it until the red banner text disappears in CPRM. We do expect it to be corrected by the time before April 30th, hopefully by the end of March. That is our hope. So, but in the meantime, you can prepare your upload template so that it is ready to upload when the system allows it. The Submit button functions as a save button within CPRM, and it's a good idea to save your work often, as you can always return to your submitted invoices and edit them. CPRM will automatically log you out after a time, so if you take too long to submit, you will lose your work and have to start over, which is never fun. Our next topic is prices paid data, or PPD for short. PPD is the actual labor rates that you are reporting on your invoices. PPD is required by OMB for all best-in-class contract vehicles, which includes all OASIS contract vehicles. PPD supports greater acquisition transparency, and PPD is shared government-wide with acquisition professionals for pricing analysis. PPD pertains to labor hour and time and materials type task orders. However, it also affects how you report firm fixed price and cost plus type task orders as well, since we do not want any proprietary information reported on these labor types. So all PPD should be uniform to the associated contract type. In the firm fixed price example on the left here, you will see that the type is fixed price on the labor line with a generic description. The price is the sum of all labor with a quantity of one and a unit type of unit. All other line items outside of labor are reported in units with their associated types, such as travel, materials, ODCs, other unclassified, etc. In the cost plus example, you will notice it is very similar in reporting to an FFP invoice. The only difference being that the type field on the labor line is cost, and there should be a line for fees using the award fixed incentive fee type. Next, the labor hour and time and materials type task orders. You will need to report the fully loaded labor category hourly rates and the number of hours that were invoiced. This means you will have one line item for each labor or each different labor rate and each different category on your invoice. This can get to be several line items, so I will refer you back to the invoice upload template to save you some time here. You can see an example of labor hour and time and materials labor invoicing on the right side of this slide. As a reminder, you may have a task order that awarded labor claims using a hybrid of these labor reporting types. Please follow the appropriate structure for reporting correct prices paid data by your CLIN types, and note in the comments box that you have a hybrid labor CLINs. And it would help if it is a combination of FFP and TNM, that you would note which two types those are. A hybrid means that you have fixed price labor line combining several labor categories into one unit, as well as labor lines identifying labor category hourly rates and the number of hours for any TNM CLINs. I also want to point out that hybrid can also be a combination of fixed price and cost plus, or a combination of cost plus and labor hour. There's multiple ways those can be combined. This slide has a helpful table to summarize most of the codes that you will use on a regular basis in CPRM when reporting your invoices. I want to point out here that we see a question asked a lot about overhead and G&A expenses. These would fall under the other unclassified line type. Also, on any time and materials and labor hour orders, if your labor category is not on the list of codes, which is generated by the Department of Labor, you can select undefined labor instead. But we do want you to try and avoid using this code as much as possible, and ask that you select a close fit to your labor category. It doesn't have to be exact, just something close. Please refer to the invoice upload template for a full list of labor category type codes. We do have one tab that is organized by category, and it's LCAT's by category tab. Thank you. GSA will start reviewing what you reported on your task order immediately following each quarterly reporting deadline. For example, quarter 1, which we are in now, has a reporting deadline of April 30th. GSA will begin reviewing orders on May 1st. Our analyst team will specifically compare all new orders reported in FPDS, NG, and CPRM to make sure all information is reported accurately. We make sure an invoice was reported during the quarter for each task order. We analyze the CAF values between CAF invoice, CAF estimated, and CAF remitted to GSA. We review the PPD on all invoices, and we ensure all required documents are attached to new task orders. We will reach out to you using the industry partner contacts listed in CPRM if we see anything that is not in compliance with the OASIS contract, and help guide you on how to be back in compliance. We do work with the CCA contract compliance analysts and the contract operations teams if an issue requires escalation. It is important that you maintain good communication with us to avoid delinquency and escalation. Our next section of the training covers how to enter your CAF payment voucher and paying your CAF in CPRM. You can access the CAF payment data form by selecting the CAF payments drop-down menu and then click on the Enter New CAF Payment Data. You will begin by selecting your company in the drop-down. You will have many options to select if you support multiple divisions within your company. Next, you will select your contract family. Once this is selected, the CAF payment allocations table below will auto-populate with all your task orders that have invoice data. It is important to remember that you can only remit CAF payments by contract number. You can include several task orders under one contract number on the voucher, but each voucher and payment can only be for one contract number at a time. Next, select the remit date associated with the payment that you are making, and then you will enter the voucher number. This is a unique number that you will create as a way of tracking your payment. An example of this would be first quarter 2023. Next, you will enter the total amount of the CAF payment you are making. This has to match exactly as you're at exactly to the payment that you are remitting to GSA. Then you will enter the allocations of your payment to your task orders. The CAF payment amount must be fully allocated in order to submit your voucher. You can add additional task orders by typing the task order number in the box at the bottom of the screen. Again, remember, only remit payments by contract number. Remember to click the Submit button when you're finished to save your voucher. Next, you're ready to remit your CAF payment. Pay.gov allows you to easily remit your CAF payment to GSA. A Pay button will appear on pending CAF vouchers after you click the Submit button. The left screenshot on this slide illustrates the Pay button after you have submitted your voucher. You can also access your vouchers by navigating to the Order Data screen and scrolling to the very bottom. Then you can click the voucher number to open the CAF payment data form. You should see the CAT or the pay button as illustrated in the screenshot in the middle of this slide. When you click the pay button, you will leave CPRM and connect to pay.gov. Your contract number and the payment amount will be carried over for you. You will then fill out your payment information on the screen that looks like the right-hand side screenshot on this slide. Pay.gov payments are done by ACH electronic bank transfer. They reconcile pretty quickly. You can see the status of your payment voucher on the order data screen. This status will change from pending to reconciled once the payment has cleared, or it will change to rejected if the payment has been rejected. I want to make a note here that GSA does not receive much information on rejection reasons. So you may want to verify with your bank if it was rejected before remitting the payment again to make sure that it goes through the second time. Each remittal of a payment will need a new payment voucher in CPRM. Our next topic covers entering modifications, or mods as we like to call them. Mods will need to be entered into your task order as you receive them if they are not automatically pulled from FPDS right away. You can access the mod data form in the order data screen when scrolling to the order modification section and then click the add text in blue. You will begin by entering the mod number. Next, you will review the period of performance start and end dates. If the mod extended or shortened the end date, you can change the end date here to accurately reflect the end date on your task order. This is how the order data screen refreshes the period of performance. You will enter a short description for the mod in the order modifications description box. Next, you will enter the increase or decrease to the obligated funded amount. This is only the amount changed by the mod itself and should not include any amounts and options that have not yet been exercised. The total estimated value will update automatically to match the total obligated funded amount if a mod increases the amount beyond the previously entered total estimated value. You can edit this value in the order data screen by clicking the edit button at the very bottom. Remember to click the submit button to save when you're finished. You can always edit mod information by navigating to the order data screen and clicking the mod button, the mod number in the order modification section, and then clicking the edit button. Our next topic covers required documents that need to be uploaded to your task order in CPRM. Section G.3.1 of the OASIS contract speaks to the attachments requirement. You will need to attach an electronic copy of the complete task order solicitation issued by the OCO to include the award document or the solicitation of services and the statement of work, SOW, or the performance work statement, PWS, as well as an electronic copy of the complete task order awarded by the OCO, which will include an electronic copy of all executed mods on the task order. To do this, go to the bottom of the order data screen and click the edit button. Next, scroll about halfway down the page to the attachment section, which will look like the bottom picture on this slide. You will choose your file and then click the upload button, and you can repeat this process until you complete uploading all of the required documents. Remember, the system will time out after a period of time, and if you have not clicked the submit button, you will not attach any documents. So click the submit button to save the documents and attach them to your task order in CPRM. I recommend verifying your documents are attached to the orders in the order data screen when you're finished to make sure that they have attached correctly. Please note that there is now a file scanner in CPRM that will scan your attachments. Do not put a password on your attachments, otherwise they will fail to attach as they cannot be read by the scanner. The scanning status will appear in the order data screen. Should the file fail this process, a reason will be provided in the order data screen, and the file will not be attached. After you resolve this issue, you will need to upload the file again. Our final topic today surrounds task order validation and closeout. Once the period of performance has ended on a task order, contractors should begin the closeout process in CPRM. CPRM will automatically notify all industry partner contacts listed in CPRM after a task order reaches the ultimate completion date. This email will include a list of items that need to be reviewed during the validation process. The OCO should issue a closeout mod, which will remove any unexpensed obligated funds from the task order. You can also submit a release of claims in CPRM in lieu of a closeout one. The contractor should then ensure all invoices are properly reported. The total sales should equal the remaining obligated balance. The total CAF that was paid to GSA should match the total CAF that was invoiced, which should then also match the total estimated CAF. Once the task order has been reviewed and reconciled, the contractor will validate the task order. A validated task order is locked for future editing, so please be sure you are finished making any changes before validating the order. GSA will then review the order and either validate it as complete or reject the validation pending further action, which will be noted in the comments section. The contractor will then need to perform the action and validate the task order again. This process will continue until GSA has validated the task order. This concludes our training session for today. I want to thank everyone who was able to attend. We will be sticking around to answer any additional questions you may have yet, so please continue typing them in the Q&A module. The Q&A will be documented and emailed to all participants who attended today. Bart and Kim, are there any unanswered questions that have come in?
Currently, we do not show any open questions that have come in, so there's still this opportunity. So you're more than welcome to submit your questions. Right now, we have 0 questions asked so far.
I am also on the call. Hello, this is Kim Schumacher. If you have any questions about reporting or credits on your DHS task orders, I'm a great resource for those as well. So this would be a good opportunity if you have no other questions. Since we don't have any questions currently, I do want to make one final note about the last topic Serena covered about closeout and validation. There is a slight hiccup in CPRM right now with vendor validation, and the system is basically throwing like weird errors at you in other fields so that you cannot submit your validation. That is a known issue in CPRM right now. If you run into it, just send a screenshot of what's happening to the Assist help desk, and you can be linked to that ticket so you'll know when it resolves so you can validate your orders. From my understanding, it's not happening to every vendor, so you may be able to validate just fine, but if you're seeing a problem, just send them an email.
Well, we are here to help you. If you have any questions at a later time, please feel free to email us at oasiscprm@gsa.gov. I want to thank everyone again for attending our training session today. Again, I will be sending everyone who signed up for this training our training slides from today. the vendor reporting manual and the Q&As from within the next few days. And everyone have a great rest of your week. Thank you.